if the fight happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. You know what I mean? Like, I'm obviously, he's got the ability to make it happen, but like, I don't see the reason why Usyk could take it. So I was like, I haven't been thinking about it. I'm just like, yeah, it's like it's all right to hear and whatnot. Like, will it actually fulfill itself?
When legendary former undisputed heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis was recently posed the question about whether rising star Moses Itauma could handle a clash with Oleksandr Usyk in the near future, his response left no room for interpretation.
If you're rushed, you know, you're going to do a bad result for your career. So it's better to take your time and take it when it's there, when it's ready, when you're ready.
The heavyweight landscape finds itself at a fascinating crossroads as 2026 unfolds. On one side stands the established dominance of Usyk, a masterful Ukrainian technician who has conquered virtually every challenge placed before him. On the other stands Itauma, a prodigious talent whose meteoric rise has captured the imagination of fight fans worldwide, despite his remarkably limited professional experience. Itauma has compiled an impressive body of work considering his youth. At merely 20 years old, the British prospect boasts 13 victories without a single defeat marring his record. What makes his resume particularly eye-catching isn't just the unbeaten streak, but the manner in which he's dispatched opponents. 11 of those wins have come by knockout, with 9 ending before the third round even began. Such explosive finishing ability at such a young age naturally invites comparisons to some of the sport's most celebrated power punchers from previous generations. The conclusion of 2025 saw Itauma deliver perhaps his most significant statement yet when he faced former world title challenger Dillian White. The bout barely got started before Itauma had White on the canvas, and within the opening 2 minutes, the contest was over. Such a dominant performance against a recognized name sent shockwaves through the division and inevitably sparked conversations about fast-tracking the youngster toward championship opportunities.
You know, the 3 fights that Oleksandr Usyk is talking about doing next. He said he's got 3 fights left, 2, possibly 3 fights left. And I said, obviously, Deontay Wilder, because of the resume. He wants Wilder on that, and that makes sense, modern eras and all of that. I say, then you're looking at Fabio Wardley because he's the WBO champion, so then he will get his shot as well. And Moses Itauma, and the reason that I think that he'll do that, Oleksandr Usyk, is because Usyk is that guy he'll want to go down as not just one of the greatest to ever do it, but the greatest to ever do it. And I think that by beating the young kid that everybody's talking about as being the next king of this new generation, by doing that, if he beats Moses Itauma, you know, his record is unprecedented, isn't it? He's realistic. Moses Itauma, you know, he's not to be reckoned with, this kid. You know, it's like, it's all right saying, yeah, we want to hold him back and whatnot, but look what he done to Dillian White last time out. You know, if you're good enough, you're good enough. And it's like, you know, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I think that's where Moses Itauma fits right now. You just go, there's no one that is even coming close to touching him. And the only guy that you could see out there right now that could live with him is Oleksandr Usyk.
Looking ahead to late January, Itauma has a date scheduled with American contender Jermaine Franklin in Manchester. This represents a potentially different kind of examination for the young fighter. Franklin has proven himself capable of lasting the full championship distance against elite heavyweights, having taken both Anthony Joshua and White through all 12 rounds in previous encounters. Should Itauma's early knockout streak finally come to an end, it might actually serve his development well by providing him with valuable late-round experience. Beyond Franklin, whispers have circulated about a potential matchup with Murat Gassiev, another name that would add credibility to Itauma's growing reputation. Yet despite this carefully constructed path toward championship contention, some observers have begun wondering aloud whether the youngster might be ready to skip several steps and challenge the very best the division has to offer right now.
Who is the next face of boxing, British boxing specifically?
Moses, fantastic fighter, wow. He will carry the heavyweight division. I think he's one of the heavyweights that is going to shine, definitely. Has knockout power, has speed, movement, and quite slick fighter. Him, and then Whitaker's a very good fighter as well. Ben Whitaker as well. Obviously looks well, looks good, speaks well, sells well. Obviously you got Hamza Shiraz is doing really well as well. So you know what? You've got a ton of good fighters. Adam Azim.
That's where Lewis enters the conversation with his measured perspective. The former champion, who knows something about navigating the treacherous heavyweight waters, having claimed every major belt during his own career, career, believes rushing Itauma toward a confrontation with Usyk would be strategically foolish. His reasoning centers on the simple reality Usyk won't remain active forever, and allowing Father Time to do some of the work makes infinitely more sense than forcing a premature showdown. Lewis stressed the importance of the learning process that young fighters must undergo, noting that Itauma currently finds himself in an educational phase of his career where every fight teaches him something new. The former champion emphasized that timing represents everything in boxing, and pushing for a mega fight before readiness is achieved can derail a promising career before it truly begins. Rather than gambling on current ability, Lewis advocates for allowing Itauma to continue developing until both the opponent and the fighter have reached the optimal moment for such a clash.
Way too soon, it's better to wait until, he retires. I mean, he's not going to stay around too long. I'm talking Oleksandr Usyk. And then take your shot. I mean, there's no use doing it right now. Right now, you're learning everything, and you have to wait till the right time. You can never be rushed. If you're rushed, you're going to do a bad result for your career. So it's better to take your time and take it when it's there, when it's ready, when you're ready.
Usyk's recent activity level has been relatively light by championship standards. His most recent appearance came back in August when he defended his titles against Daniel Dubois, a victory that crowned him as a two-time undisputed champion. Since then, the Ukrainian has indicated interest in facing former WBC title holder Deontay Wilder during 2026, a matchup that would pit technique against raw power in what promises to be a compelling stylistic clash. The comparisons between Itauma and legendary fighters from previous eras have become unavoidable given his knockout prowess. British boxing icon Frank Bruno, who shared the ring with Mike Tyson on two memorable occasions, recently found himself fielding questions about how the young prospect measures up against Iron Mike at the same age. Bruno acknowledged that while Itauma possesses undeniable talent and youth working in his favor, Tyson had already captured a world championship by age 21, though he noted that Tyson's career trajectory got complicated by negative influences outside the ring.
Moses Itauma, 20 years old. Yeah. He's been knocking people out left, right and centre.
People comparing Moses to a young Mike Tyson because of the way that he's going through these opponents and the way that they're stepping him up. You know a young Mike Tyson because actually you was in the ring. Is he that guy?
Moses is very, very good. He's young, he's fresh and whatever, but when you look at Tyson at 21, he won the belt.
Former super middleweight world champion George Groves offered his assessment of a hypothetical Usyk-Itauma meeting when speaking with media outlets during the middle of 2025. Groves suggested that if such a fight happened immediately, Usyk would likely emerge victorious. He said, "I think he beats Moses Itauma now. I think maybe in 12 months he won't beat Itauma. And maybe then that is like the passing of the torch." Tyson Fury recently weighed in on the hypothetical matchup between Usyk and Itauma, offering a prediction that favors youth over experience. The Gypsy King, who fell short against Usyk in two closely contested championship battles, believes Itauma would handle not only the Ukrainian, but several other established heavyweights currently competing at the top level. Fury's reasoning centers on boxing being fundamentally a young man's sport, one that waits for nobody regardless of past accomplishments.
I keep getting asked about young Moses Itauma fighting Oleksandr Usyk and fighting other big names. And my opinion is not someone who don't know boxing. My opinion is someone who has been there and won every single belt, won everything there is to win in boxing, and done very well. Boxing is a young man's game. Like I told Vladimir Klitschko when he was 37, boxing's a young man's game and he waits for nobody. So here's the opinion, you've heard it here first. Moses Itauma will wreck all them old men out of the division. Usyk, AJ, Miller, whoever there is who's old, Zhang, whoever else there is, Luis Ortiz, all these big names of the past are all a spent force. And even the world champion now, if they took my belts and give them to Usyk, Moses will wreck him. Because he's a young man versus an old man. An old man can't mess with young men.
Attention has also turned toward potential future matchups involving Usyk beyond just Itauma. The proposed fight with Deontay Wilder has generated considerable discussion throughout the boxing community, with opinions varying widely on how competitive such a contest might prove. Former two-division world champion Zab Judah offered his perspective on the matchup, suggesting it could be more intriguing than many anticipate. Judah emphasized that Wilder needs to approach training with renewed dedication, specifically highlighting the importance of comprehensive physical preparation in including leg work. According to Judah, if Wilder commits fully to his preparation and enters the ring in optimal condition, he possesses the tools to make the fight genuinely competitive rather than the one-sided affair many predict. Judah noted that power is typically the last attribute to fade in aging fighters, and Wilder's devastating right hand remains a weapon capable of changing any fight in a single moment.
Deontay Wilder, Usyk called him out.
Wilder better go get that. Wilder better go get that. Wilder better go get that.
Called him out, Soup.
He got
That's another opportunity.
But for real, Deontay got to train. He got to train for that, my nigga. Train for that. And don't skip leg day. No skipping leg day. Gotta hit leg day, all that, everything. Cause if he, I believe this, man. If Deontay Wilder go in there and get right, he can make that fight a more competitive, interesting fight than a lot of people expected. Trust me. Wilder still got something in there. He still could crack. See, remember, as long as you got that fucking right hand, that's the last thing to go. The last thing to go.
Lennox Lewis also addressed the potential Usyk-Wilder matchup when speaking with boxing media. His assessment proved far less optimistic about Wilder's chances than Judah's evaluation. Lewis believes Usyk's superior skill set would lead to a relatively straightforward victory, describing it as an easy fight for the unified champion. While acknowledging that fans want to see the matchup happen, Lewis expressed confidence that Usyk would control the bout from start to finish.
I think Usyk is way too great to lose that fight. I think it's going to be an easy fight for Usyk. I think both of them fighting, everybody wants to see that fight. I think Usyk has it hands down.
Lennox, appreciate your time.
Former cruiserweight champion Tony Bellow, who once challenged Usyk himself, provided his thoughts on the proposed Wilder fight. Bellow acknowledged concerns about whether Wilder remains the same fighter who dominated the division for years, noting that he might be somewhat diminished from his peak. However, Bellow maintained that Wilder's punching power remains the last thing to deteriorate in any fighter, and that single punch capability makes him perpetually dangerous regardless of other skills declining.
Right, Usyk said he wants to fight Wilder. Any interest?
Ooh, that's an interesting
Usyk
fight.
Wilder. Is Wilder about fucked though? He's about finished? Because he's looked shady, hasn't he, against Zhang?
Listen, I do think he's gun shy. I think he might be shot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. There's no point in saying he's not.
Wilder.
But the last thing you're ever going to lose is that punch. But I do think he's gun shy. I do think he's wary of throwing. Yeah. And I think...
Do you think it could be interesting, Wilder landing a shot on Usyk? Yeah. Do you think?
Because you listen, no matter what, Deontay Wilder is still the single biggest puncher in boxing. Even if he's a bit gun shy, even if he's a bit shot, with one shot, he's got more power than anyone else in the world. Yeah. And I genuinely believe that. So that's a risky one. And listen, let's be honest, risk against reward, he's getting no reward literally for that.
Where does he go, Usyk? What should he do now? Like, he's completed the game, hasn't he?
I thought Joe Parker was the original. And Fabio Wardley just ripped the script up. He was amazing in what he'd done.
So the Wardley fight's potentially interesting for a little bit. Can Wardley survive for a bit? But it's game over, isn't it?
You can't expect Fabio Wardley to challenge.
Would you give him not a chance?
I love Fabio, and it's no disrespect to him. I think the world of Fabio Wardley.
Yeah, me too.
But this, and he's a very good fighter. Listen, I thought Joe Parker didn't know too much of him, but he didn't. And you know why he didn't? Because he stayed in there with him every second of the way.
Showed that heart and desire, didn't
it? And that's what being undefeated does for you. Until you're defeated, you don't know how to lose. And what he done that night, he stayed there. He was in the fucking fight all the way. I thought he might be losing. It was really close.
Very close.
But ultimately, he was in there.
Recent form does raise legitimate questions about where Wilder stands currently. His performances against Joseph Parker and Zhilei Zhang particularly concerned observers who had grown accustomed to seeing him dominate opponents. Against Parker, Wilder lost a decision while showing little of his former intimidating presence. The Zhang fight proved even more troubling, with Wilder being stopped inside 5 rounds in a performance that suggested significant decline from his championship days. Usyk demonstrated improved power at heavyweight during his most recent victory over Dubois, leading many to believe the Ukrainian might be capable of stopping Wilder should they meet. The combination of Usyk's technical mastery, improving power, and Wilder's apparent vulnerability creates a scenario where many expect a decisive Usyk victory, possibly inside the championship distance.
I think when we look at the last 10 years, this last decade, and you're talking about characters of the sport, and you look at Deontay Wilder...
He's up there.
He's up there.
He's box office.
And you go... Please just find one more performance. And when you speak to the guy, and the trouble is that outside of the ring,
but
very honest.
Kenny, I mean, this alter ego that we talk about, which is the bronze bomber.
Yeah.
Do you reckon? I mean, he's always been a very personable fellow.
Yes.
Even when he was in British TV studios promoting the first fight with Tyson Fury, despite there was an element of rancor between them, he was always relatively good-natured. What is this bronze bomber mentality? Is it a real thing? And if it is, does he need to get it back? Is he capable of getting it back at this stage in his career after, performances against Zhilei Zhang, against Joseph Parker that were just not reflective of what we recognise to be Deontay Wilder? Can he do that? And if he does he have any chance against Oleksandr Usyk?
He's got every chance against Oleksandr Usyk. He could be
pack it in June.
No, but listen, because he's such a dangerous puncher.
Regardless of how these various potential matchups eventually materialize, the heavyweight division finds itself in an intriguing transitional period. Established champions like Usyk continue holding the throne while younger contenders like Itauma knock loudly on the door. The question isn't whether that door will eventually open, but rather when the timing becomes right for the next generation to step through. Lewis's advice about patience may prove the wisest counsel Itauma receives during this crucial phase of his career development.